Welcome everyone. So my name's Steve Davis. I'm just doing a very brief introduction, but my colleagues from Cornerstone, Darren and Alex, will do the presentation. My name's Steve Davis. I'm the current Treasurer / Secretary for the PPMA and a past President. Welcome to this webinar looking at a fascinating subject, build, buy, borrow or bot. I'll hand over to Darren and Alex now from Cornerstone. They'll take us through the presentation. And if you have any questions, please drop them into the chat as we go along. Darren and Alex will identify how they want to handle questions as we go along, or whether at the end, but please put in some questions in the chat. Thank you. Over to you, Alex and Darren.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. As Steve said, thank you for the kind introduction there, Steve. Darren Nickerson. I've been with Cornerstone all of this year. I joined, my background predominantly is ERP backgrounds with training and learning facilitated through that, but coming from the different side of the fence. I'm ably supported by Alex today, who will introduce himself.
Thanks, Darren. Thanks, Steve. And hello, everybody. So I'm Alex Carlton. I'm an account manager here at Cornerstone. So I look after our relationship with about 60 public sector organisations, mostly local authorities and higher education. My background is actually working in local authorities, looking at people tech, workforce planning, people insights and workforce strategy. So I used to work for Essex County Council for about 7 years before I joined Cornerstone about 2 years ago. But nice to see you all.
Brilliant. And now the legal bit. Just got to cover off some elements of what we would call safe harbour. So whilst there's a lot of factual content in this presentation today, some of it is deemed from various organisations, Gartner and such. Some of it is our interpretation. So please don't hold me to it. I'm not providing lottery numbers that are guaranteeing a win. I'll let you do the honours of reading what's on the screen. And if there's any issues there, please feel free to exercise your right to leave if you don't agree to these types of terms and things like that, but I'm sure it's all fine. So let's just pause. Okay, thank you. We've got what we're discussing today. So we've got the need for change. We're all in a situation where we are looking at our roles, responsibilities, the people in our organisation, the challenges to the business. So I'm going to touch lightly on what that need for change looks like and what the perceptions are. Then we're going to talk about the 3B. So rethinking the 3Bs, the build, the buy, the borrow. And the context of this is all around your human capital. We refer to ourselves in our organisation as corner stars. The people ultimately are the best parts of the organisation. They're the most expensive asset. And it's how the direction of the business travel and the direction of the people within the business need to align to discuss, to make optimum performance. And then we're going to look at really what is a human-centric partnership. So we had the 4th B, which was the bot element, the build, the buy, the borrow, the bot. So we'll talk about what that means in the marketplace as a perception, as a concept, and there'll be a bit of interaction there. So when Alex puts something in the chat, such as build or buy or borrow, if you have built a successful team and it's taken a long period of time, put the thumbs up. If you've bought something to support the business need, that could be a consultant coming from a sophisticated product, pop something up there. And then we're going to do for what we call engineering talent. I'm just going to showcase a little bit of our product set with a solution statement and a fix. There's a lot of slideware to go through. We will go through some slides at pace, but because this is recorded and shared, you'll be able to review and freeze screens and do comparisons to what you've actually been doing. So as we move forward then, we have, as I said, that change statement, that need for change. So the next slide, as we look at now, it's some key questions in here. What is the perfect storm? Technology and AI disrupting the workplace, labour market anomalies. This could mean absolutely anything. Your talent sourcing, your pool of people you work from, the gig economy, challenges to your day-to-day operating model. Overlay that with geopolitical conditions and generational shifts. Generational shifts. Absolutely, that's what I would refer to as your people in the workplace. It's commonplace now. We have 5 generations in the workplace working in any business across the thing. We know that soon that will be 6. We address this as the workforce readiness gap. How you deal with that to maintain business as usual is what we, as I say, address the workforce readiness gap. Next few slides, and we'll just jog into these ones. These aren't designed to scare you, but these are news articles that are out there where AI has been cited as replacing jobs, whether it's BT, you can see Workday in there, and what Mr. Zuckerberg's done with Meta / Facebook. So that's not designed to scare you, but what is designed to open your eyes and bring some attention to this is when we talk about percentages, I always like to look at the other side of the fence. So back in 2023, 90% of the global 2,000 top executives went through questions and answers, and they talked about the unprecedented disruption that skills will bring. To put that into context, those 2,000 companies turn over £52.9 trillion with a market cap at $91 trillion pounds. Sorry. What that then does is that disseminates down into our organization. So public sector challenges at a local level, different organizations, but the pain is real and is felt across all of the organizations. So if someone sneezes, someone catches a cold elsewhere. Further to those points, to back those up, we've got the sentiment on the next slide around what IT is looking at. So there's clear divides in business, whether it's IT and business, it's the pull, the push that sit within there. So if we look at 40% of IT employees not feeling that their skills translate into their job, and only 1 in 4 IT leaders thinking that the ability for their staff to do their job on technology is not really there. And then the fact that the IT professionals that are servicing the business needs aren't really putting their skills to play within the organization, it poses some real challenges and differentials in the business. So as we work on to look at what we would talk about the workforce readiness, we have some 5 themes. Now, I've called this an anchor slide because we're going to revisit this slide 2 or 3 times in this presentation. It's about identifying the lack of talent, leadership risk. This is your key people driving the business and owning the responsibilities of pushing that forward and looking at the bumps in the road and look how to navigate them. When that person leaves, you've got if you've got no succession planning in place, you've got a talent gap. That then impinges onto point number 3. Planning feels impossible, resourcing, structuring. Then you overlay the fact that we talked about IT not deploying the skills and having the right access to the tools. That feels like a disconnected ecosystem. And then you've got your processes in HR. HR sometimes can be a bit like a go-kart. You use bits of different parts of vehicles to make a go-kart. Ultimately, that's how HR evolves with different tech stacks and processes and policies. We'll talk to you about solutions of unifying and harmonizing around those problems and see what we can do to address that for you.
Darren, can I add one more challenge to that? So I think one of the things that I see a lot when I'm speaking to my customers is all of these issues impact every local authority that's out there. But there's one that's kind of underlining these things, which is the state of organizational and workforce data. And that is kind of like an underpinning challenge, if you like, that impacts everything higher up the chain. And one thing I'm on a kind of one-man personal crusade to get councils to understand is take that level of foundation really seriously. Like, it needs to be almost a board level, a CLT, corporate leadership team leader, even a political argument to say, look, we need to challenge our data so that we can really truly understand the organization, we can really understand these challenges, and we can leverage that data to actually become the solution to some of these things. So I just wanted to lay that point because it's a live conversation I'm having with a lot of customers at the moment.
Brilliant. Thank you, Alex. So as we look into the next slide, this is where I've asked for a bit of audience participation. We've got sort of rethinking the 3 Bs, the build, the buy, the borrow. So as I said, building a team, organic growth, pushing it out, buying a team, bringing in someone to sort a problem out, or borrowing a team, consultant on point. This is how we see the state of the nation, if you want, for addressing those key challenges. I said it was an anchor slide, and I've tried to break them down in my interpretation and the business, supported by the business, around how we address the challenges here pre-AI. So these are just examples. You may experience these, you may be involved in these scenarios. Disjointed HR processes, is outsourcing the best way? How does that affect your budget? Every question begets another question. So we can look at that. What this then drives us to, if we go on to the next slide, we look at how traditionally we have measured efficiency. And FT, full-time employee, we're all grown-ups on this course. Is this the fair way of assessing what we do? This could go back right the way in time to sort of a production line. Is it Henry Ford's way of looking at how work output should be measured? Actually, as we go forward, can we look at it in more of a holistic way that would look something like this? And what happens if we start looking at things like that? So over the next few slides, what we're going to look at is how we focus in on what potentially the value could be as we look at the automation. But fundamentally, as we look at automation, it does a step change in what we need to do. So the next slide, we just really look at how the target operating models will be redefined by AI. This is purely because it's something you can't ignore. It's not like we don't have an AI policy. We don't have, in public sector, we don't understand what AI models are going to work for us. There needs to be some kind of guidance. It needs to be on someone's thought track somewhere, and it should be something that's threaded into everybody's conversation, whether that's a Microsoft license and a containerized version of Copilot. These things will affect us all, and it certainly can't be ignored. Equally, the younger generations coming through that will be looking to replace people, well, I can say of my age, working forward, will fill those gaps a lot quicker than we, with these tools, than we ever did to get to the positions we're at. So as we work forward, then the question is, how do we rethink that human-centric partnership? There's different ways, and there's different takes on it. I've got some standard takes. So optimism rising, concerns falling. Depending on where you sit on the journey or the requirement, then it is something that is a problem, or it's an embrace, it's an enabler. But ultimately, when the sentiments differ, as we go on to the next slide, we see deltas appear in the numbers. So 62% of leaders are optimistic about AI, but only 42% of frontline employees. That delta translates down to a bigger gap as we work forward. So what does that look and feel like in the job environment from a perspective? It's purely a visual impact of the workforce. So it should provide a warm, fuzzy feeling, automation of routine, repetitive tasks, enhanced decision-making, supporting confidence of individuals, augmented creativity and collaboration. I can get access to things quicker to build presentation decks to help you to get through mundane tasks. Outcome-based work. These are all things that we see in a regular working place, new skills being developed and enhanced. However, sometimes we need to step back from what we think the benefits are as a visual impact of the workplace, and we look at what's going to present on the next slide, how work intensification feels to the people we talked about at the beginning, although the assets we talked about at the beginning, the human capital. So that job security and anxiety, that's a real problem. Loss of autonomy and control, dehumanization of work, and then the ethical dilemmas and the mistrust. I spoke earlier about we don't all have an AI policy. We don't have something that we've got a strong a strong deliverable and guidance on, whether it's a CIO or a CTO in all our organizations. So that then provides a state that we need to get to as we go forward into how do we prepare for future readiness. So I love numbers. Absolutely love numbers. And I won't bore anybody by reading some of the facts, but the one that stands out for me is the one in the middle, the red one. 15% of HR teams have a formal plan to upskill and reskill employees using AI roles. Conversely, 85% do not. That's my problem. That's the scary part of that. 85% of people don't know what's going to happen, how it's going to happen, and what the impact's going to be. So how do we overcome these kind of statements? And again, this is purely for guidance. We're talking about this. It's interactive. We'll come to questions towards the end. Feel free to jump in. And we talk about engineering talent 2.0, because we're in the second iteration of it. There'll be many more, but we like to phrase it as meeting you where you are. And from that, though, we need to have a baseline. Everybody needs a plan. We need to start a plan and look what good could look like. So I've split it out. We've gone for organizational needs and employee wants. These two are very difficult to align, whether that's pay structures, whether that's relevance, engagement, accessibility, partnership, all these things. So I said pay straight away, affordable. inclusive. So you've got the social responsibilities of the employer and the organization, and then you've got the responsibilities that provide a safe environment for the employees' wants and needs. Everybody wants to progress in life. Everyone wants to move forward. Everybody wants to be valued. So if we get to a start point where we've gone through an exercise and we can see something like this on paper, I believe it's a good place to discuss. So we're running the webinar. We work with PPMA. So there's a bit of flag flying now as we work on to the next couple of slides. So what we're going to do is we talk about the Galaxy being our core offering, and we refer to ourselves as corner stars. So our individuals, my colleagues, my peers, my directors, we're all corner stars that work and live in what we eat and breathe and drink our own Kool-Aid. We live in the Galaxy. That holistic yet modular approach of meeting you where you are means you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to reinvent all of your collateral, whether that's content training, approach, appraisals. We will actually meet you there and ensure that we best protect the investments you put into your assets. So what does that look like as we go forward? These 5 points have come up again. The 6th point that Alex has brought in, they're there, and no matter where you are or what business you're in, these gaps are going to sit there. They're going to hold back progress. So what we do is we provide an opportunity to address them, pick them out, and here is a sort of a map, really, if you will, of how we can address these and sort them out in a very high level overview. So what I've done is, rather than just labour the point here and work through these 5 bullets, 6 bullets, if we talk about Alex's point that was raised, I've taken everything out of the Galaxy. I've decided that actually modular and holistic and meeting you where you are, there's no stars in this Galaxy, there's no people yet. So we're going to go through these points individually now, and we'll talk about how we identify the lack of talent and what opportunity we have to correct that. So as we go forward to the next slide, we have the problem statement. Feel free, some thumbs up if you identify the skills gaps. If you identify some of the problems on the right-hand side of the slide there, the opportunity to correct them or the ability to work with part of our solution to address the challenges is good. We want to help you and help our customers with more AI-driven skills-first holistic learning platforms. So natively integrated for the learning experience and the management, so you can really report on that. So if you're looking to drive more value from existing learning and compliance solutions, this could be a route that we can understand and work with you on. And like I said, we meet you where you are. So we've got to really stress that point. Then we've got the leadership risk and the challenges. As businesses, you'll understand when a key hire or a long-standing person within the organization has worked their way through the ranks and the value of understanding different departments and leading those departments and leading a group of departments, whether that's a CFO, HRD, very hard to replace. We all entitled to progression and freedom to work anywhere. However, we need to really address that and retain talent into the organizations because it is cost effective, if nothing else. So then we'll go to sort of how we can address that for you and support that. And I did say we would move through these slides at pace, but the referenceability, I think, is key, given them the attendance and the registrations and the other people within PPMA. They really do value taking the time to pick through these afterwards, and that will generate questions. There will be follow-ups that we'll send out for you. So we've talked about 2 facets. Let's move into a third now, as we talk about some of the challenges that the ELT, SLT of organizations face on a regular basis. It's difficult. It's the unknown is the problem, and the lack of visibility absolutely challenges that. So we can help you in that area as well as we jump into the next slide. So again, just being able to unlock the workforce planning tool gives you that hindsight to think about where you were, where you want to be, and how you can fill that gap and get the data through. Point number 4, that disconnected ecosystem. This, I think, is one of the biggest points that we need to labour really here. As we'll go to the next slide, we'll do the big reveal. We know a lot of our customers are Workday, Oracle, SAP customers, especially in this sector. I've lived, eat and breathed this sector forever, and I'm very passionate about the public purse and the spending of money that comes from my taxes. So by being non-jealous, by allowing you to, not by allowing, sorry, how rude of me, by approaching the working situations that exist, an SAP deployment, an Oracle deployment, a Workday deployment, whether you're using Workday for performance, it doesn't matter. You can be met at any part of your journey. We can interface and talk to, and we will work with you through open APIs and robust platforms that allow you to really sweat those assets and benefit from everything we do in our tech platform that is the Cornerstone Galaxy.
Darren, can I just come in there again? Sorry
Yeah.
to interrupt you. I think this is me being on my personal one-man crusade about this again. And it's, you know, it's a frequent thing that we see in all customers, not just public sector, where they have a mixed, what we'd call a HR stack. So you have kind of Oracle doing your payroll or SAP, then you might have Cornerstone doing your learning piece, and you might have something else doing your casework. Getting to a point of strategic workforce planning is therefore really difficult because your data is in 20 different sources. So there's nothing kind of connecting them together, making one view of the world. And that's something we are really starting to address and I'll talk about Cornerstone, I'll talk about the industry in terms of using AI and leveraging AI to bring that data into one view of the world so that you can make much better decisions around the future of your workforce. And that's something Cornerstone are working on through our SkyHive acquisition last year. That's a really interesting piece of software that takes AI but puts human at the center of that, and is kind of doing stuff that organizations used to pay PwC to go and do £1 million worth of data harvesting and come up with a brand new way of doing something like organization hierarchies or position structure or paying grading structures or something like that. But what that kind of layer is doing is taking your data from Oracle, taking your data from Cornerstone, taking it from casework, taking it from your core HR platforms, and saying, how do we build up one really true picture of the current state of play in terms of demand and supply of both skills and resources across this organization? How do we start addressing that? So there is some really clever tech out there that's kind of starting to answer that question, and that's the bit that I'm really getting excited about. And I'm sorry, I've stolen the point away from Darren's piece here, but that layer is absolutely critical to making sure that you can see the wood through the trees.
And great comment. And it's not necessarily even just internally looking at it. You can look out externally. You can look at the labour market force beyond your physical needs, your requirements from the organization. You can look globally, you can look geographically. We can help you shake that down. So an example of some work that we have done with some central government bodies, they are looking to relocate offices that are expensive to run, whether they're London-based or city-based. As they relocate, will the skills that are required to run that business outfit or that business function be available if they move from point A, London, to point B, Wiltshire, where I live, where office space might be a fifth of the cost? What's the relocation factor? What's the skills pool they can draw in from that? What's the open market? What is available beyond public sector employees? And it's one of the hardest challenges that we face in public sector organizations, is that I call it jumping over the fence. So you bring a great product set, you upskill your individuals, whether it's an SAP, a Workday, an Oracle, they become market leading, and the programs of work that come in the ERPs, they come every 20 years. So we have that tech debt with our employees, our colleagues within public sector organizations working on technically deficient products that are just keeping lights on for business function. Then they get the latest whiz-bang products that come in. They look at that and think, oh, wow. And then they start looking over the fence in the private sector and think, well, my skills could be better valued elsewhere. So the whole stack and looking after the talent and managing that and giving them the ability to self-serve and drive their own goals and destiny, measure themselves against peers inside and outside the industry, look at professional development for career progression, build out career pathways. It all sits in what we just shown you. And feel free for specific bespoke breakouts, so even myself and Alex will jump on a call with anyone, one-to-one, one-to-two, by organization, and we'll analyze particular pain points for you. And not necessarily, this is not a selling deck. This is purely about awareness. So if you don't know about it, you don't know about where you are in your current state, but you have programs of work that you need to get to a 2B state. We need to be self-sufficient, happy. We need to take some budget out. We need to consolidate platforms. We've got some behemoths in their organization that are running, and we've got programs of work coming down the track to upgrade SAP or We've seen some councils swap out to Oracle, and there's been cost there. We're here to talk to you about the real challenges that you face and work with you on that. So enough on that one point. As we go forward, we've taken that that galaxy, if you will, that was not very colourful, and we've joined the processes up. Jump forward again. There we go. One more. Yeah. Oh, thank you, Yvonne. Thank you. Just for those on the call, I have to jump into a separate room, and yeah, I only have a single screen, so I've been ably supported by Yvonne, which is great. Thank you. So that's put some colour in what we started up was a bland galaxy, or galaxy with no stars or corner stars in there. Ultimately, what you're seeing now is a holistic AI-powered platform that will solve the readiness gap and help you address that, whether that's learn, helping your people to stay ready for today and get prepared for tomorrow, whether it's the elevate element, where goals of the individuals are tied directly to the success of the organisation, which empower employees to really work with the direction of travel for the organisation. And when businesses, and when people perform at the best, businesses perform at the best. So that's where we do. And what we do is, as we transform and give you the insight to change with confidence and the leadership to pivot and work to the challenges that are faced in the direction of the business, we'll meet you wherever you are. We're non-jealous. We will talk to, work with, plug into through solid APIs, what you've already invested money in your tech stack. So today was about bots and about AI and how that affects the workforce. We've not been doing AI just because it's on point and it's trending. We have had machine learning, AI embedded into our platform since 2018. It's been a backbone of our core development strategy, our products. We've seen it coming, we've embraced it. I use it on a daily basis to understand. I use AI to feed in customer accounts, audit accounts, sentiment analysis. I ask for what a strategic direction of travel is for central government body, what the key initiatives that HMRC or DWP or Wiltshire County Council are trying to achieve. And I use that in my own day-to-day operations. But the core functions, we've got a lot of stuff on the screen here, and I won't insult anybody's intelligence. These things are all here to help you, to be supportive. And by putting them all in an extensible and accessible framework, where we will plug into all and sundry, i.e. non-jealous, then it's better to share these and build out a broader ecosystem that provide benefits to business. So we started off the journey, and again, we're 30 minutes in, so we started off the journey. I felt the need for a quick recap. So we spoke about change. We spoke about the 3 Bs. I can't see if there's anything in the chat, so we'll review that in a moment. Talked about the perception of how a human being might feel, and we talked about what outwardly is visible, more performance, more benefits, and we've talked about that model, and we've run through what engineering talent could look like. So now, as we revisit the next slide, again, a little bit of repetition. I do apologise. Hopefully, there's no such thing as good news and bad news. There's just news, but there's a way you present the news and what platform you're presenting it from. So the facts are the facts. BT have cut 55,000 jobs, and up to a fifth being replaced by AI. Well, actually, the smart network that BT deploying with fibre from the exchange all the way to your house now, no telephones that go in your homes anymore, unless you buy a special kind of phone. You don't have copper wires anymore in the system. That's where a lot of the jobs are cut from. But the AI seems to be grabbing the headline here. So the sentiment around this news is painful, and it's front and centre, and the security aspects are feared and worried by almost everybody. So as we jump forward onto a slide, this is quite often a human response in any environment around the situation they're faced and the problems they faced, and it's easy to be negative or to blame something beyond your control. What I'd like to think of is, hopefully, as we bring the next slide on, and it's a little bit of a builder. There we go. Sorry, one more. Yeah. AI took my job to the next level. As I pointed out earlier, my use cases examples, they are used daily. They help me push things through, do things quicker. But I still got to fact check. I've still got to personalize them. I've still got to write that email. I've still got to reach out to that contact. So all in all, that's a whistle-stop tour. I give you that's 32 minutes of build, buy, borrow, bot, and what the sentiment is, and how we are here to facilitate conversations with you in a non-sales environment to foster a better understanding of your needs, wants, and challenges, and then provide you an enablement route or a pathway to what something could look like, which would then allow you to write an RFI to then go to an RFP from a position of informity rather than we a team internally have never done this before. We need to do something. Let's put something together, and it goes out to the market. It's misunderstood, and we see time and time again in the public sector environment, tenders just keep moving right, and the more they move right in timelines, the more cost is involved internally to support them, to review them. So that's one of the positive outputs of something like today. Engage early. Let's fail fast. Let's move things off the table if they're not right for the business or they're non-deliverable. And let's get something that you can really get out there and put into the marketplace that's strong and robust, and we'll get some good responses back. You had a quick sneak peek there. I know Yvonne was jumped forward a slide. So there's a bit of collateral here. We've been running a series of coffee breaks with Cornerstone. So you've missed one if you've not picked it up yet. Getting started with skills on the 6th. But if you scan the QR code, you can opt in here for some other workshops that are running. We call them coffee breaks. They're informal, they're relaxed. They are designed for you to get as much out as possible around the subject matters. And that's pretty much what we've done. In the chat, you'll have 2 links in a minute. Download an AI white paper, links to this, and there's another. Keep me honest, Yvonne.
So yes, we've got the bill, buy, borrow, or white paper, which is what we've sort of built out here on the webinar today. And we do have a link to register for those coffee breaks with Cornerstone, and you can register for whichever ones you like yourself. If the topics that interest you, you don't have to register for them all. You can just register in there. Sorry, I'm coming on camera now.
Sorry, done.
I think it's also worth pointing out, and I always do this in these webinars, is we have a long history, either individually or as an organisation, with the PPMA, and if anyone wants kind of a one-to-one, system agnostic, non-sales conversation around workforce planning, AI, skills, talent mobility, that's absolutely in our wheelhouse. I'm happy to share what other customers are doing or connecting you in, so that offer is there if you want to reach out to us individually for a one-on-one call.
Okie dokie, I can see some chats in there. I can also see, as we've had to put the last slide up, which is reflections and questions. It'd be lovely to hear somebody else's voice other than my own, because I feel like I've talked at you. So I do apologise, but thank you very much for sparing the time today. I really do appreciate that.
Right, thank you, Darren, and contributions from Alex and Yvonne. Have we got any questions? I don't really see any questions. One of the things I wanted to sort of raise, Darren, it's great you're talking about aspects of how you're utilising AI day to day. I think one of the things I've struggled with when I was an HR director, and I know many people, because you get sucked into lots of day-to-day stuff as an individual worker. Just trying to understand, actually, people I think appreciate how good AI can be, but in terms of actually facilitating a practical model of workforce enhancement, if you like, many people sort of struggle with that in terms of, okay, what are the real examples of how we can utilize it? So they utilize it, as you say, almost like maybe to rewrite some of their reports, or to help them sort of trawl data or stuff like that, but actually practically using it day to day in the workforce. I'm not aware of too many good examples of how that's happening in a practical way and where it's being rolled out, and just wondering, is that something that you guys can help with in terms of examples of how you can actually integrate it into the workplace in a practical way?
It's a really good question, Steve. Do you want me to go first, Darren, then you can chip in if that's all right? I think it's becoming more prevalent. I think that's the issue. Like 2 years ago, no one knew about ChatGPT. Now everyone's pasted in their CV into it to refine it, and recruitment teams are struggling actually to go what's real or what's not. There is, you know, there's a pro and con argument to that. I think practical stuff. There has been stuff that's been around for a while, right? So if I take Cornerstone LMS, when I implemented it in Essex, there's part of that is actually been AI driven for a number of years, and that scrapes a person's job profile. It looks at their skills, and then it recommends content, learning content, in terms of, look, this might be really useful to you. It looks at what your peers are working on and going, actually, that your peers have undertaken this content and rated it really high. Then it plays that back to the individual user. So from an employee experience perspective, it's probably been there for quite some time. I think we're getting into a place now where HR processing, we touched on disjointed HR processes, there's a lot more around process automation and process robotics. So, but that's probably less seen at the moment, but it's coming down the line really quickly. And what the bulk of Darren's presentation really talked to is, it's here, it's coming, but we need to be ready for it also, right? So there's a massive human impact to it. So if we suddenly take away a load of processes, what's the impact on the person doing that job? And actually we need to start thinking about that, and how do we upskill and reskill that individual so they could do something different, or something more strategic, or something more meaningful. So there is a whole load of stuff that's already happened. There's even more coming, and the timeline is going to speed up absolutely massively, and we need to be ready for that, I think.
And to your previous role, Steve, I wouldn't have approached, historically, if I was approaching you, I go back, and I come out of the armed forces in '97. I started selling straight away. I was a bit gobby, I suppose, and that's how it started. But my first job was, here's a Dun & Bradstreet. You look after B2C, and you had to get all your data from that. Now, if I was going to reach out to a CFO running a council, it would be, well, actually, I note on your figure, because I've just loaded your annual reports, public domain information. I've rinsed it twice. I've got some really pertinent sound bites that resonate with you. And you've got a gatekeeper. You've not answered the phone to me, but I've got some really nice things I want to tell you that I think are going to save you money. And I can script stuff. I can help stuff. I've not been replaced. I've just enhanced some of the more mundane stuff, reading a 300-page report where I might miss the key takeaway. It could be absolutely, this county council has a problem. They overspent on roads. They've got staff attrition because they've not got a fundamental foundation block in place to look after that. And the key challenge is doing that. Oh, by the way, the CFO's just about to leave. He's had enough, or she's had enough. So that kind of stuff, it just speeds up things. It's not necessarily speeding up what we do. It's just the impact time. Where is the value for you? Where does it sit for the people downstream? How does it all flow together? So that's a day-to-day use. And I know the challenge. It's every time you put something up in AI to get a comment or a question, that information then becomes public domain information, because it's just sat there. So if you have a secret sauce recipe, Levi Roots, whatever, and he says, how can I improve the flavor of my sauce? Here's my ingredients. Everybody then knows the ingredients of that secret sauce. So your IP is flawed. So it has to be used ethically, responsibly, and of an understanding where you know what the impacts are. And that's the challenge.
It's a really good point, right? Everyone's running at AI really fast, but is it ethical? Is a question that a lot of people seem to miss. And at Cornerstone, we have an AI policy that talks about human in the middle. And that is, how do we use AI to do that formula that Darren showed in terms of improve our effectiveness and our efficiency, but how do we do that in an ethical way? So that's a really interesting talk topic at the moment.
Yeah, and some chatbots will come back to you with a bias. They don't know. They are non-biased. They have no idea. They have no filters. They think they understand a bit of some of the DE and I elements, but however, sometimes it often gets missed and can be misconstrued and upsetting or offensive. So yeah, it's a difficult one.
Okay, fascinating. Lots of stuff to think about, and the I like the look of some of the coffee breaks. I must tune into that and have a look at your white paper. So thank you very much, guys. I think we've used up our time now. One or two people have already had to leave because I've got other meetings, but thank you. It's really good, fascinating subject matter. Definitely need to have some discussions going forward. So thank you very much.
No, thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks all.
Cheers. Bye-bye.